In this podcast episode, Congressman Mike Waltz of Florida discusses a range of pressing national security issues and the implications of President Trump's foreign policy approach. As a former Green Beret and the first Green Beret elected to Congress, Waltz brings his military experience and insight into the complexities of global affairs. Waltz begins by addressing the ongoing hostage situations involving Americans, drawing a parallel to the Iranian hostage crisis of 1979. He emphasizes the need for strong consequences for nations or terrorist groups that illegally detain Americans. He argues that the U.S. must adopt a zero-tolerance policy towards hostage-taking, suggesting that any nation or group that engages in such actions should face severe repercussions, including financial penalties and military responses. This stance reflects a broader theme in Waltz's discussion: the necessity of demonstrating American strength and resolve on the global stage. As the newly appointed National Security Advisor under President Trump, Waltz outlines his vision for an America-first foreign policy. He highlights the importance of rebuilding American strength abroad, particularly in the context of NATO and the Middle East. Waltz believes that domestic energy production is crucial for U.S. foreign policy, arguing that energy independence enhances national security and reduces reliance on adversarial nations. Waltz also discusses the implications of the Abraham Accords, which normalized relations between Israel and several Arab nations. He envisions a future where these agreements can be expanded, particularly with Saudi Arabia, as a means of countering Iranian influence in the region. He stresses that the U.S. must remain vigilant against the threats posed by ISIS and other terrorist organizations, which continue to pose risks to American interests and allies. The conversation shifts to the ongoing conflict in Syria, where Waltz notes the significant impact of Israeli military actions against Iranian proxies. He explains that the weakening of Iran's influence in Syria is a positive development for U.S. interests, particularly in terms of regional stability and the security of Israel. Waltz emphasizes that the U.S. must remain focused on preventing the resurgence of ISIS, which still poses a threat in the region. Waltz also addresses the precarious situation in Iran, where the regime's ambitions for nuclear weapons remain a concern. He argues that the U.S. must leverage its economic power to deter Iran from pursuing nuclear capabilities, suggesting that secondary sanctions on Chinese buyers of Iranian oil could be an effective strategy. He believes that a strong stance against Iran is essential for maintaining stability in the Middle East and preventing a nuclear arms race among regional powers. The discussion then turns to the ongoing war in Ukraine, where Waltz critiques the Biden administration's ambiguous approach. He expresses concern over the lack of a clear strategy and end goals for U.S. involvement in the conflict. Waltz argues that the U.S. must define its objectives and provide the necessary resources to support Ukraine effectively. He highlights the importance of maintaining pressure on Russia while also ensuring that Ukraine is equipped to defend itself. Waltz acknowledges the growing relationship between Russia and China, noting that this alliance poses a significant threat to global stability. He emphasizes the need for the U.S. to strengthen its alliances and deter aggression from both nations. He believes that President Trump's approach to foreign policy, which prioritizes American interests and leverages economic power, is crucial in countering these threats. China's rising influence is a central theme in Waltz's discussion. He argues that the U.S. must adopt a proactive stance in addressing China's geopolitical ambitions, particularly in the context of Taiwan. Waltz warns that a potential blockade or invasion of Taiwan could have catastrophic consequences for the global economy. He advocates for strengthening U.S. military capabilities and enhancing partnerships with allies in the region to deter Chinese aggression. Waltz also highlights the importance of space and cyber capabilities in modern warfare. He argues that the U.S. must invest in defending its interests in space and develop offensive cyber capabilities to counter threats from adversaries. He believes that a shift in strategy is necessary to ensure that the U.S. remains competitive in these critical domains. The conversation concludes with a focus on South America, where Waltz discusses the implications of Chinese influence in the region. He emphasizes the need for the U.S. to strengthen its relationships with Latin American countries and promote economic development to address the root causes of immigration. Waltz argues that a comprehensive approach, including trade agreements and support for democratic governance, is essential for stabilizing the region. Waltz also addresses the challenges posed by drug cartels in Mexico, which have significant implications for U.S. national security. He advocates for a more robust response to these organizations, emphasizing the need for cooperation with Mexican authorities while also holding them accountable for their actions. He believes that a strong stance against cartels is necessary to protect American communities from the devastating effects of drug trafficking.